Championships are only the beginning. Dynasty Road.
Welcome back to Dynasty Road. I'm Jordo.
I'm EFO. How's it going, buddy?
Going very well. So we were just chatting about the Super Bowl. Hopefully you enjoyed the game, you listening. And today we're going to be talking about our top 10 Dynasty. Well, I don't know. Is it our top 10 running backs going into the 2022 season? Is that fair enough?
Fair enough.
So Efo's got his list. I have my list. Actually quite similar. And you've already shown me the list, and I really can't argue with your selections.
Well, okay. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
I tried hard to get it going. No, it was tough because there's a lot of really good running backs out there, but I was looking at it more from a dynasty kind of perspective thing of a long-term value. So
yeah.
And some of the guys that you have on your list as well, I have as honorable mentions on mine.
Vice versa, yeah. And I think you will be surprised watching who is not on the list.
Yes. Yeah. There's a few that are like, oh, when I looked and I was like, oh, those names aren't there. And I'm like, mine aren't there. I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah. So let's get down to it. We're going to just start from the top. Efo is going to give you his. I'm going to give you mine. We'll discuss them, and we'll get through this in smart fashion. So go ahead, my brother.
So my number one for next season is Najee Harris from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
The Steelers.
And I've got Jonathan Taylor. So no big surprises there. And just for the sake of discussion, who's your number two?
Jonathan Taylor.
And mine's Najee Harris.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really just boils down to who you prefer, and just kind of like they're so close, and they both kind of excel in their own little area. And so it just really kind of boils down to who you like better.
So what was the deal breaker for you?
With Harris, I liked his receptions. In terms of his total touches, like whether it's rushing or receptions, he out-touched Taylor. Not by a lot, like 9-10 touches out-touched.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just more involved with the offense in Pittsburgh, I think, and I think it's going to even continue with them either getting a rookie quarterback or going with a backup. I don't think they're going to go and get an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson or anything to go into Pittsburgh. So it's either going to be a rookie or a backup for a bridge year. So I think his touches and his workload will increase. That's why.
Okay. Do you have his age there?
His age is 24. So when I did the ages, it's whatever they are during the season. Whatever they're going to be during the season, not what they are right this second. Okay. So his age is 24. Jonathan is 23. So there is a year difference.
Okay. For me, do you also have their height and their weight?
So yes, Najee Harris is 6'1". Well, according to what we get, what he's listed as 6'1", 232, where Jonathan Taylor is 5'10", 226.
Okay, wow. He's
a beast.
Stocky little guy, huh?
He is. But, and it's funny, like he had 25 broke tackles though. Like he is a beast. Like Jonathan Taylor, he breaks the tackles. Like it's not one hit and he's down. So,
and what are their reception numbers?
So for Harris, he was targeted 94 times, Taylor only 51, and the receptions were 74 for Harris, 40 for Taylor. So I mean, you're looking at a good 34, but I mean, if you look at percentage wise, Jonathan caught better
Okay.
than Taylor did. I mean, Harris did.
Yeah. I think the thing for me that was the deal breaker to put him over Harris, he's a year younger, which it's not like a huge difference, but it is a factor. But the more bearing factor was the Indianapolis offensive line.
Yeah.
Compared to the Pittsburgh offensive line.
No, I can see that. Yep.
Now, probably every other metric is in favor of Najee, whether it be the quality of wide receivers, even the quarterback play. I mean, even if they are able to land Pickett.
Well, yeah, I would take Pickett over Wentz. Is it Wentz that's so?
But and then the receiving numbers are there, the size, the 3 down. He doesn't have anyone competing with him, Najee.
Right.
Whereas you got Nyheim Hines that's in the mix. But yeah, so that was what did it for me.
Yeah, no. And it's funny because I was thinking about that when you mentioned the age, and I wasn't thinking of like they were close enough, but I'm like, it's funny. Taylor is a year younger, but he's been in the league longer. This is going into his 3rd season where Harris is in his 2nd. So it's like, so he's got a little bit more wear and tear, but he is still younger, so he can handle it maybe a little bit better. But Taylor did also have 4 fumbles. Najee Harris had none.
Yeah. See, you know what I gotta bear a confession here. I've got both of them on my team.
True.
So the acquisition of Jonathan Taylor was more profound for my team's performance. I acquired him earlier in the season, and there might be a little bit of an emotional factor in my picking him, because the more I'm thinking about it, the more it's like, man, I think I probably would rather have Najee.
No, I don't think you go either wrong with either one. I really does. It's Kobe or LeBron, Bird Magic, like it's,
well, here's the thing,
Jonathan. Roger Brady. Like,
you got to remember, at the beginning of last season, Jonathan Taylor was not hyped up.
No,
I mean, he was going at the beginning of the 2nd round.
I think sometimes didn't he go in the 4th?
No, I think he went in the 2nd round.
Okay.
But sometimes he was even making it back to the end of the 2nd round.
Right. Well, no one expected this.
No, so no one expected it. He had flashes of this in his rookie year, flashes of it.
Yep.
Whereas with Harris, I mean, he was hyped from the beginning and he did not disappoint.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there is that factor of something you mentioned earlier, which was last year a fluke for Taylor.
Okay.
Whereas
it's true. Could it have been, or like you said, Najee Harris was supposed to do good. He came in, did good, and now he can only build on that.
It kind of gives you a little bit more reassurance, confidence, trust. And that's like one of the biggest things with players is like early when I started playing fantasy football, I realized very early on, I was trying to pinpoint why are there some players that I absolutely would take no matter what. And then there's other players where it's like, there was always a question mark. And so what I realized, it came down to trust and consistency. Like You know they're not going to get injured. You know they're going to perform. They might have a bad game here and there, but it's very few and far between. And when I isolated those players, it usually came down to like at the most 20 players.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That you actually trust and would be like, okay, I'm all in with these guys.
You're never going to take them out of your lineup for any
Right.
reason.
Yeah. That's fair. That's
I think so. I think both of these guys fall into that category, but I think you've got a little bit more trust with Najee. However, if JT puts this up again next year,
yes, it definitely changes the conversation, because then it's like, all right, year 2 was not a fluke. This is what he is turning into. And if you're fortunate enough to have Harris and Taylor on your team, then, you know, you're looking pretty good for the future.
Quick question. When it comes to running backs, elite top running backs that you have on your team in any given season, how many years are you willing to keep that running back on your team before you start to feel like he's going to decline and you need to sell him off?
Yeah. I kind of buy into the whole thing of I'd rather be a year too early than a year too late.
Okay.
So, like, let's say with Harris or a rookie, like, okay, so a rookie, rookies from last year or even Taylor. What, maybe if the production stays 4, maybe 5 years, you know, and that's only depending if, you know, because obviously you're trying to, you know, if you're going to trade them, you want to flip them for something better.
Yeah.
But if they're performing, I'd say 4 to 5 years, probably the most I would do. Because let's see, 4.28 for Najee Harris, maybe 3. No. It's tough when they start getting into that 27, 28, 29-year-old range.
I'm with you. I'd say about 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, you know, how many elite running backs really, there's very few Emmitt Smiths, Curtis Martins, Frank Gores. And I'm just curious. I'm just thinking out loud now, but I wonder how you'd be able to identify a Frank Gore or a Curtis Martin or an Emmitt Smith in year 3.
True.
Because it's got to be conditioning. I mean, it might be a little bit genes, but it's got to be conditioning.
Right. It has to be a little bit more than just, because you figure Derrick Henry, he's going into his 7th season.
Perfect example.
And it's like, you know, if you took him at the beginning of the 2nd round in a dynasty startup, like, that's not that bad of a spot to take him, you know, like, but, you know, would you take him in the 1st in a dynasty? No, but I mean, like, but because he still produces. Now, the injury last season.
How old is he?
He's 28. Well, he'll be 28 during the season.
So he's a perfect example. Now, I know we're getting off topic here, but this is good. I would absolutely sell him off this year.
Yeah.
Maybe keep him for a couple games if you can get a couple 100-yard games in there, 150-yard games, 3 touchdown games.
Yep.
And then you move him.
Yeah, but would you take him in the 2nd round of a dynasty startup?
Coming up?
Yeah, coming up.
No.
You wouldn't touch him in the 2nd round?
Nope. Like let's say it's a 12-team league and I'm drafting 9th.
Yep.
So I wouldn't take him at 119.
Well, right. Yeah, no.
But then on the turn, No, I think there's better options at that point still.
Yeah.
I would take an elite wide receiver
Over that. Yeah.
over him.
No, I think I know I just said probably you take him in second because that'd be good, but I think I kind of agree with you. Because
If
I'm
you
like, the more I think about it, I'm like, he's 28. It's gonna be season 7. I'm like, yeah, I just can't.
Because I mean, if you're trying to decide between him and Justin Jefferson, who are you going to take?
No, Jefferson,
Him or Jamar Chase?
Chase.
Okay, him or Devontae Adams, who's a little bit older. I mean, Adams is 28, 29.
Yeah, something like that. But he's a wide receiver, so it's a little
He's
bit
a wide
different.
receiver.
Yeah.
You know, who are you going to take? I know who I'm going to take. Especially if he's
Tight
with
end.
Rodgers. Would you say?
It's a tight end.
Tight end, yeah, Kelsey.
No, you would take Adams. I mean, another one.
I'll tell you another one who'd be on my list to move is Ezekiel Elliott. Who were you going to say?
Nick Chubb.
Okay, I can see that. Why? What's your reasoning on that one?
No, like, would you take Nick Chubb or would you take Henry? That's what I was going to say.
I would take Chubb.
You would take Chubb. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's easy for me because neither one of them is a receiving back.
Right.
Chubb has a better offensive line.
He's 27 years old, though.
That's not too much. That's not too bad. I'm willing
because it's only 5 seasons worth, too. Whereas Henry is on 7 seasons.
I'm willing to go up to age 30 for running backs.
Okay.
He does have Kareem Hunt in the mix.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's proven. He's one of those guys that I trust. He's proven it. He's proven it.
All right. So let's go to number 3.
Yes, sir.
Who you got for number 3?
Number 3, we are looking at. Okay, I have Austin Eckler.
Okay. I got Javonte Williams.
Okay, Denver.
Yeah, Denver.
Now, Eckler, if you're not in a PPR league, yeah, I don't think I'd have him 3rd. But if you're not in a PPR league, you need to get out of that league.
True. Well, why are you even there?
So that was my reasoning on that. It's like, to me, there is no other option. You need to be in a league that's PPR. Right. Who'd you have?
It was so Javonte Williams from Denver. And I know it and only because of what the potential will be. What we saw with him in the rookie last year, basically almost splitting time with Gordon, and Gordon being gone most likely. I don't really see Denver holding on to Gordon. They can draft another running back or somebody cheaper or something like that. And he's only 22 years old, 5'10", 220. So he's kind of in the build of Jonathan Taylor a little bit. Amazingly enough, they're very close in catches. 51 targets was Taylor, 53 targets was William, 40 receptions, 43 receptions. So it's for me, it's like what he's going to be able to bring getting it full time. Cause he seems to be a 3 down back.
Yeah. That's a strong pick right there. That's strong. Yeah. And I did have Eckler. I did have Eckler in my list. I took him out after, but I mean, you can't go wrong with 94 targets, 70 receptions. 647 yards and just reception yards. Right.
Like that was insane for Eckler. The only reason why I kind of took him out, 27 years old.
Okay. And he has been injured.
Yeah. But
Uh,
he kind of surprised me because I wasn't expecting him to be as good as he was just a guy I never really looked at that much, even like the last couple of seasons. And I was like kind of shocked of just how productive he was.
what's his rushing yards? What were his rushing yards last year?
9-11.
Eckler had 9-11.
Eckler had 9-11.
Oh, so I mean, you
He
compare,
averaged, it was about averaging of 56 yards, 57 yards a game.
so if you combine those total yards, you're looking at
He did
1,500.
1,558 yards of total.
Yeah. So you could equate.
He accounted for 276 touches of his team,
Wow.
which I mean, still is almost what 100 less than Jonathan Taylor, but
But I mean, how many yards did Jonathan Taylor have? Rushing yards.
18. Yeah, 1,800.
And how much did Najee have?
Najee had 1,200.
Okay. So I'm thinking like a Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb who don't get, they virtually get, they're not in the passing game. If they get 1,500 rushing yards, it's the same point total as Eckler.
Right. Yeah.
So even if your league doesn't count receptions per se, you're still going to get the yardage numbers, just in a different form.
Javonte Williams and Eckler. So Javonte had 900 rushing yards. He had totaled with his receiving and rushing 12-19, 246 total touches.
Oh, wow. That was Javonte?
That was Javonte. Eckler, 911 total rushing yards, 647. That's where he really earned his bread and butter. 647. So he had 1,500, about 300 less, but still 276 for him and Javonte.
And how many total touchdowns did Eckler have?
I don't have total touchdowns.
Okay. All right. Let's go on to number 4.
Rushing, he had 12.
Oh, wow.
He had 12 rushing yards, touchdowns.
Okay.
And Javonte only had 4.
Who was your number 4?
DeAndre Swift.
Okay. And I had Joe Mixon.
Okay.
For me, Joe Mixon, they committed to him this year. I really wanted to get my hands on him this year via trade. I just wasn't able to, but he's a 3-down back. He's got very little competition. He's in the passing game. He's the goal line back in a great offense.
Yeah.
And the coaching staff is committed to him. So maybe his age, I don't know if he's in his late 20s, 28.
He's 26. He'll be 26 during the season.
So yeah. So Joe Mixon, I mean, he should have been higher this past year.
Yeah.
And if you were able to snag him, then you probably got him at the end of the first round, beginning of the second, maybe end of the second.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Or even the beginning of the third. That's tremendous value.
Yeah, and you can tell like they just again he had 334 touches total for another 1,519 yards total of his team. So he was used constantly. Passing, he was okay. I mean, he caught 42 receptions out of 48.
Okay.
So he was like, close to like almost 90% of catch percentage. But 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, 20 broken tackles for a 6'1", 220 guy. Third in the league in rushing. Not too shabby.
Talk to me about Swift.
Again, he's only 5'9", 211, so he's a speedy little guy. He doesn't break a lot of tackles. He's only got 9 broken tackles. He only had 617 yards, which I think he got injured for a few games last season, but he's only going to be 23 years old. 62 receptions for 452 yards, over 1,000 yards of total yardage. So he's definitely involved. I think what hurts him is obviously the offensive line in Detroit and the quarterback play.
It's not that bad though.
It's not that bad, but the quarterback play, and they do need help in offensive line. They have a very young offensive line. So I think once they get a little bit more playing time together, but and he's the only guy really, I mean, now they have a few more. They added Raymond there, St. Brown. I'm Mark Ra, whatever. I'm on Ra.
I'm on St. Brown.
I'm on St. Brown. They added him. So
you got a little bit of the night at the museum going on there.
Exactly.
So
for me, it was the PPR. Like, to get 62 receptions. I mean, that's only like 12 away from Harris, who led the league for running backs.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty high on Swift going into this year. And if you can make a trade for him right now, you might be able to buy low on him.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5, who do you have?
Amazingly enough, even to my own shocking, Saquon Barkley.
Okay, so I had Antonio Gibson.
Okay, so what's about Antonio Gibson?
Again, he is very effective when he is in there.
Yeah.
He's in the passing game. He's a goal line back. He's young. This is his third year, I think, going into his third year.
Yeah.
He did get hurt last year, but in the final 4 weeks of the season, I think he was either number one or number 2. I think he was in the top 3 of running backs for fantasy points.
In fantasy points. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that was because I think what's his name got injured. The other running back there.
Oh, McKinnon, Derrick. I forget the guy's name.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's so I just like his involvement. I know that when he's in the game, he's already proven that he can put up monster games. And I've had him in my lineups on some of my teams when he's done so. And it's amazing. It's like, oh, wow. I might have him. I know in one league, he was my flex guy. So I had 2 running backs ahead of him and he was in my flex spot and he's putting up 30 points. And you're like, oh, all right.
Not bad for your flex.
Yeah. In one of the leagues, I think I had Eckler. At one point, I had Eckler and Aaron Jones as my 2 running backs, and he was my flex. And so it allows you flexibility in building your team because you can let one of those other guys go, which I did. I let Aaron Jones go first, and you can address a need in another area. But that was my number 5. So, okay. So Barkley,
Saquon. Yep.
Yeah. What's the deal with that?
I don't know. No, you know what? For me, I'm trying to recognize his potential when he's in there, and he is a stud. He helps you in the passing game. 41 receptions last season, 203 completely total targets. I mean, but he just hasn't. He's only 25 years old, or he's going to be 25. He's a meaty guy, 5'11", 233. And, maybe he needs to drop a few, and that's why he's getting injured so much, But
yeah.
it's you see the potential. you see that maybe with this new head coach coming from Buffalo, that he can help out and get Barkley going good. So I went with him. I went with him as I'm just recognizing the talent that's there, and he could actually have a pretty decent year.
All right. So then we're at number 6. 6. Who do you have?
J.K. Dobbins.
Okay. I have Javonte Williams.
Oh, okay.
So we've already talked about Williams. I do like his position on his team. I like the numbers that he put up in a part-time role. It's his second year, and I'd be very excited to see him in a full-time role.
Yeah, I know the one game that he was actually the starter, he scored like 30 some odd points.
Yeah,
in fantasy.
Yeah, that gets you hyped.
So, yeah, and so I mean, sure, extremely small sample size, but you hope that he can duplicate it. And again, speaking of small sample size, like J.K. Dobbins, he only played 2020. He missed all of last season with an injury, but you could start seeing, he was 805 yards in 2020. Not really involved in the receiving, only 18 receptions. But he was being used, and so that was his rookie year. Baltimore is not, they don't really throw to their running backs. They're more, they don't throw to their wide receivers. It's just their tight end. So it's like, so you kind of take that with a grain of salt, and, him only being 24 years old during the season next year, 5'10", 214. He should be able to come back really good from his injury, and I think he'll be fine. I think he'll pick up right where he left off in 2020.
Okay.
Truth be told.
All right. So number 7, I have DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
And you?
Travis Etienne.
Travis Etienne. Okay. All right. So this is interesting. So Swift, I like his ability to catch the ball. I think with Goff as your QB, you're going to have to utilize that.
Yep.
And it's going to be his 3rd year. Or will it be his 3rd year? No, I think it's his 3rd year.
3rd. Yeah.
Yeah. So
going into his 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about Etienne.
He missed all of last season. Let's move on. No, he another kid who, and amazingly enough, the comparison was Swift a lot when he was coming out of college.
Yes, it was.
So, as a good reception catcher out of the backfield, 5'10", 221, 210, 5'10", 210. So he's got a little bulk, only 20. He's going to be 23 during the season. And again, it's the upside. I think the new coach, I'm not thrilled with the new coach in Jacksonville, but what he was able to do with Wentz and Foles, when he had them, you would think that Lawrence is more talented and that Peterson could help Lawrence become better and use a guy like Travis Etienne. You saw what Robinson could do, and Etienne is so much better than Robinson. So just the hype and just again, it's really drafting potential. I think the potential is there and that he can be able to produce.
Okay.
And his injury, again, it's not like a Cam Akers injury.
Remind me of what his injury was.
Etienne, I forget what Etienne's. Akers was an Achilles. ETN, I think, was just like more of a knee leg kind of thing, like almost like J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. was a ACL. ETN actually said he could have played almost like Akers did. But it's one of those injuries that it can be very healed very well, and it shouldn't hurt him.
Lins Frank injury. Number 8, I got Nick Chubb. And
Okay.
you?
Cam Akers.
Okay. So we discussed Nick Chubb. I think the pros and cons are there, already well known. What about Cam Akers?
Cam Akers, the red flag with him is going to be the Achilles. Sometimes they have a hard time coming back from that. One of the reasons why I even put him in here is just how good he did during the playoffs and even the Super Bowl and the couple of, I think, 1 or 2 season games. For him to be out there and playing and actually producing, he did pretty well, considering that the Achilles happened in August, I think.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, the fact that he was even out there, you could definitely tell there was rust. There was definitely some, and the defense of Cincinnati was really good. But the Tampa Bay game was.
I wasn't paying too much attention to how they deployed him and Darrell Henderson together. I mean, how were they using the two of them?
The Tampa Bay game and the San Francisco game, Henderson, I don't even know if he even saw the field. The 2 games I watched, it was always Akers and Michelle, Akers and Michelle, Akers and Michelle.
Oh, right. Okay.
Now the Super Bowl, I did start seeing Henderson because Michelle and Akers couldn't run on Cincinnati. And I think they tried to put Henderson in there to see if he could do it, and he couldn't do it either.
Yeah.
So, but when you look back in his rookie year, he was up to 625 yards. He was catching, I mean, he only caught 11 balls. He was used in 156 touches, only 1 fumble. So like they were using him, but I think going into this year, if he's fully recovered, he's going to be their guy. And Sony Michel will probably be the backup.
Okay. All right. Number 9, I've got Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay.
And you?
Joe Mixon.
Okay. Anything to say about Mixon in addition to what we've discussed?
No, I liked him. I was surprised that he was used as much as he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he again, like along with like Harris and Taylor, I think I would probably put him a little bit higher if it wasn't his age. But Harris and Taylor, I mean, they were in the 300s in their total touches of their team. Mixon was the same thing. He was in the 300s.
Yeah.
334 total touches. Like, that's just insane.
As a side point with Mixon, and I'm going to include Eckler in this too, it's very important to read as much as you can or watch as many interviews as you can with players, because what I have found over the years is when you might find this little nugget here and there that indicates to you the player's mindset or their usage. And so in the case of Eckler, he expressed supreme confidence in himself before the season started, and essentially said something to the effect that, like, you're going to want me on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
I remember back in like 2004, Priest Holmes said something just about the same. He's like, yeah, if you have me on, you're going to want me on your fantasy team this year. And he just blew doors that year. With Mixon, I remember reading something before the season started where the head coach was interviewed, and he totally was committed. He expressed his commitment to Joe Mixon as our 3-down back. We're going to have a strong running game. And it was like, that was like the clincher for me. It was like, okay, he's really going to be used this year. So my point is just if you can find something like that, I'll give you a third example was Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. I read this article in ESPN about how Matt Stafford found his way to LA from Detroit. And it was pretty interesting because he and Sean McVay just happened to be vacationing in the same place in the off season.
Funny. Yep.
Okay. And, but the nugget that I found in that article was that he and Kupp will do drills together, very similar to how Manning and Marvin Harrison would do drills together.
Oh, there you go.
Or Brady and Edelman.
Edelman, okay.
So, but I read the article after the season started. So, and Kupp had already started performing. So it was like, it was going to be nearly impossible to acquire him. But had I read that before the season about how much chemistry they had and how much trust Stafford had in him, I would have been targeting him. So,
yeah. Well, that was kind of the same thing with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. That was why they drafted them, because they were together in college, and was like, well, let's hope this works out. And we saw it did.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just a side thought when it comes to doing your research.
Nice.
So for me, with Ezekiel,
we will keep on.
Well, go ahead.
We'll keep on having those for you guys too. We'll keep on digging out those nuggets for you guys.
Oh yeah.
So you can come here too and listen to us.
So with Ezekiel Elliott, I liked what I saw this year from him.
Okay.
I think this was a rebound year for him for sure. And it kind of tells me that the year before was a fluke. Dak got injured. And so the whole offense was not the same in 2020.
True.
2021 was bounce back. You had Dak back in the mix. Elliott looked good. He looked healthy. And I still think there's some tread on his tires. You can't forget like how talented he is and how highly touted he was coming out of college back in like I think it was 2016, maybe 2017.
Yeah.
So he's not that old.
No, he's going to be 27 during the season.
So I think you could get a couple more years out of him, and he could be your RB1 for your team. So when I compared him to some of the other guys towards the bottom that were competing with the 9 and 10 spot, I just decided to go with him. I like their offense. I like his quarterback play. I like their offensive line. The receivers are good. They've got a good tight end. Yeah, it's true that he's got I can't think of the guy's name.
Pollard.
Yeah, Pollard. He does have Pollard, but it seems as though the coaching staff figured out how to utilize the two of them together. So
yeah,
that's why I have him at number 9. Any thoughts about him?
All right.
Pros or cons? Or
I had him in my list and then I took him out. He had a decent season, over 1,000 yards, just barely, but 10 touchdowns. Again, he was close to that 300 touch mark of like total touches for his team, almost 1,300 yards of total offense. I'm like, that's only fumbled once. It's not a bad resume to have. I kept him out just because of him being 27. I mean, he's 6 feet, 220, 228. I mean, like that's a good size, he's.
Bear this in mind too. When we're down at the 9th, 8th, 9th, 10th running back in a 12-team league, you're looking at, you're not going to take these guys in the first round. So you're looking at the beginning of the second round, maybe even the middle of the second round.
Right.
So if Ezekiel Elliott's there for me in the middle of the second round, to me, that's great value.
Middle of the second? Oh, yeah.
So.
But who would you take? Would you take Kamara or Elliott?
Well, Kamara's my 10th.
Oh, okay. So, all right, then Cook or
No,
Elliott.
I would take Elliott.
Okay.
I drafted Cook at 103 this year.
Yeah, you did.
And he was not on my team by the end of the season.
No, he was not.
In fact, he was who I used to get Najee Harris on my team because I was very underwhelmed by his performances.
Yeah.
Very underwhelmed. I don't think there might have been 1 week where I owned him where it might have been week 1 where he like really did well. But a lot of the weeks he put up like an 11 point, like a 15 point. And at 1-3, that's not what I'm looking for at 1-3.
No, not even a little bit. So number 10.
Yeah, what do you got?
Kamara.
Yeah.
I went on a limb and I put Ramondre Stevenson.
I like that pick. Here's because I was reading how he's really committed to improving, especially in the passing game.
Yes. And he was already pretty decent. I mean, he only had 18 targets, but 14 catches in the passing game.
Mm-hmm. Why do you like him?
One, because he does get utilized in the passing game and that he is willing to go with the passing game. And as almost a 3-headed monster for a little while in New England, to still come up with 606 yards, 14 receptions, 123 yards, almost 730 of total yardage for a 24-year-old, player, rookie in Bill Belichick's scheme of things who, I'm surprised he even saw the field after he fumbled once, never mind twice. It's like, he still was put out there. It kind of just shows the talent that he has and the ability. And Harris, I can't remember if he's a free agent or close to being a free agent. And he got 5 touchdowns. I mean, for like, the 3-headed backfield to get 5 touchdowns and what he did, you would think that going into next year, probably no JJ Taylor, probably no Bolden.
White
might be back, so that might cut into him a little bit, and I can't remember what if Harris is a free agent or he's going to be a free agent.
He's unrestricted free agent in 2023. So after this
season. So he has one more season. So it's like the path for Stevenson is there. As long as he continues to improve. And, like you said, when you're getting close to like that 10, 11, 12 team draft, it's like, why not take the chance? Like, I mean, I would rather have Stevenson than Cook. I'd rather have Stevenson than even Nick Chubb. Huh?
McCaffrey?
Oh yeah, definitely. I didn't even have him as an honorable mention.
All right. So I could actually see him having a role after next season, similar to who was the running back in Brady's early Antoine
Smith.
Antoine Smith. I could see him having a similar role as an Antoine Smith, if not more.
And right. And with the new offensive coordinator and Belichick, he just cares about winning. And so that's what does hurt him a little bit, is being on New England. Belichick can sometimes just sit him because he wants to go with, White or whatever for whatever reason, because he feels like it's a better matchup, and just throw the ball constantly. That is kind of like the knock on him a little bit, but I still say the potential is higher than the little knocks.
Okay. So those are our 10. Obviously, you've noticed that there's some names missing from our list that are quite conspicuous. CMC, being one of them, Dalvin Cook being another one.
Yep. Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, I've had Aaron Jones multiple seasons in multiple leagues. He is the most infuriating player to own. He'll put up 40 points one game, and then he'll put up 3 games of single-digit fantasy points. And you're just like, I can't deal with this. I can't plan with this.
That would drive me insane. I haven't had him, but I would probably trade him like after week 2.
Yeah. So that was a great one, Aaron Jones. Who were some of your honorable mentions?
As my number 11, I put Michael Carter.
I agree with that. Yep, I agree.
I thought as a rookie season, 36 receptions, 639 yards rushing. He's only 23 years old. He is 5'8", 201 though.
Okay.
Like, so durability might be an issue. So, but he did break more tackles than Ezekiel Elliott, so who knows?
Okay. Right.
And he was used, he had almost 1,000 yards of total offense. So,
wow.
And then, just I think Cook and Kamara, Jones, Henry, Chubb, I think they have their place. I don't, end of second, beginning of third type of thing.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you, is where are you comfortable drafting them?
Yeah. Like, if I'm at the end of the second or going into the third round and I already have like a quarterback and maybe a quarterback and a wide receiver, and I didn't go for the running backs at the time, maybe I take a flyer on one of them, but I almost put a couple of rookies on here that I'd rather have over those guys.
Yeah. Here's another name that's conspicuously absent is Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
So he's a popular pick for someone to go at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round. I mean, he was in the top 15 for fantasy points. Leonard Fournette, you think this was a one fluke wonder?
Fournette's a free agent, so I just don't know where he's going to land.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty there. James Conner.
I just don't trust him.
Exactly.
It goes to the trust. I'm like, I don't trust Jacobs. I don't trust Connor. I don't trust whoever is in Seattle's backfield.
Oh, I didn't really talk.
I really don't trust anybody in whatchamacallit's backfield either. Arizona's. No.
With anytime you have a running quarterback, your running backs are going to take a hit.
Right.
I didn't really talk about Kamara and why I had him at 10. I think with him versus, so like with me, some of the guys that were competing with him were McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. And for me, it's like, I trust Kamara out of the 4 of them.
Yeah.
And probably Henry after that. I mean, McCaffrey is so tempting, but he's established himself as an injury risk. And I just can't afford that in the first round.
McCaffrey for me would be a 4th round flyer.
And you're going to have somebody like if you were in a league full of you and me's, if someone was in a league full of us, McCaffrey's going to be available at the end of the second round. And they're going to be like, I can't believe the value. I can't believe I got him at this spot. This is insane. And maybe they're right. But you're playing with fire there, in my opinion. Like, when someone's coming back from a major injury, like a season-ending injury, the next season you want to see him come back strong. And he did not come back strong.
No.
And he's not that old.
No, I didn't even have him even as like someone I wanted to look up and even like his age or anything. Like it's not that I didn't forget about him. I just have nothing really for him.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. His offensive line is not good. His quarterback is
No.
not good. The wide receivers are pedestrian. So he's not on a great team.
No, and I mean, yes, he can be the team when he's healthy. Like he can carry that team, but it's when he's healthy. That's what I'm saying. Like maybe in the 4th round as a flyer, you could convince me to take him in the 4th round. But I don't think I'm going to touch him before that myself personally.
Yeah. Here's a name that didn't show up. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. High-powered offense, relatively young, got the pass catching ability, the offensive line.
For whatever reason, again, that's that whole trust issue.
Yeah.
He gets drafted high because of his situation. But let's be honest, does any of us really think that if they found a rookie running back that did even a little bit better, that he would be gone? Clyde Edwards-Helaire would just be gone. Like he would just be delegated to a backup and, eventually just out of the league, because you can just look at him and tell that they use him because he's there and they spent a 1st round pick on him, but you don't see the trust even from the team. So it's like, do I really want to invest 1st, 2nd, maybe even 3rd round in him?
Yeah. Here's one of my honorable mentions is Khalil Herbert.
Yeah.
I'm very big on him, and I liked what I saw. And if he can get the opportunity, I could see him as a top 5 back.
Yeah. I remember we had this conversation a few videos ago that we both liked him.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's our top 10 running backs going into this season. Let us know what you think. Give us a shout out down below in the comments. Let us know in the comments who we missed. And next week, we are going to be doing the top 10 wide receivers.
That's going to be interesting.
Yes. So join us then. We got new content coming out every week. Our big show here comes out Tuesday, Wednesday of every week. And check us out. Search Dynasty Road on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and follow us there. Subscribe here on YouTube. And until next time, we will check you later.
Have a good one.